Okay, so here's the project. Um, I'm using all the fields here just to make sure they're tested out, but you can really just get by with using first, last name, email, and maybe that's all. Description. I've created my own uh, caption, um, but I think if or going forward, I might start allowing or code in some ability to use the Google reCAPTCHA. It's a little more popular and trusted. Um, so that's basically it. I mean, it works. I've also made it to where it's responsive, and that's on the front end. When we go to the back end dashboard, um, this is what it looks like in the plugins menu. Siwa contact form. I'm pretty sure I'm abiding by all of the guidelines. I'm using my name because I really don't have an entity yet. I'd hate to step on somebody whose name is already something I'm going to use. I've got all this connected up. This is the plugin site. Um, and branding, I chose Siwa because it's kind of a counterpart to Oracle, which like Oracle existed in the Oracle of Delphi existed in Greece, so Siwa was another kind of similar god that existed in Egypt. So that's my branding. I haven't trademarked it yet, so we'll see what we can do with that. Just to get it out there. Um, and then I've got it installing way down here. I guess I'm happy with that. So that when you click it, you go right to what I consider options, form options, and you just have the ability to select which data to capture, or and how to search or what fields to use for searching. We've also got the view results set to grid or tiles. Um, when you go to a a smaller viewport, this grid will change to tiles, and you can't change it because that's just the way it's going to show. You can't really show a grid in a smaller viewport the size of 600 pixels or whatever. So when you go back here, it goes. I have to straighten it out here, or I'm rather have to refresh it, but you don't have to on the phone for it to be responsive like that. I've also you allowed to select what search settings you want to use when you're using this search form, because what I'm doing with the messages, I'm creating a table and I'm throwing all the messages into a table that you can just list out here in the admin panel, and then click on it and go to the details and you get all the info for the table. Um, I think all these are valid. You know, maybe giving too much. I definitely am giving too much with searching by birthday. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to remove that. Okay, so that's the settings. And then the last part would be this guy where you're using your search settings. Again, I'm going to remove this because it's makes no sense. I've got some test data in here, not a lot. And basically, you click the guy and you get the information, the remaining info. It's first name, last name, the role, this company, email, birthday, which again, I don't know about that. Address, and then the main message, which I shouldn't call it description. I should change this to description before I submit it. 'Cause it kind of doesn't make. I'm so used to as a developer using the word description, but we'll probably change it to the message. And again, this guy does change for responsiveness to a smaller viewport. Okay, that's basically the front end, and for the code, it's just one, you know, plugin folder in the plugin folders, and it's called. Let me show you here. Just what is it called? Siwa contact form, and that's what it looks like in the file directory. once you install it. Um, so just going down the list, the assets contains just the images that are used for describing the plugin itself. I got my CSS guides in here, one for admin, one for regular, for the regular form. That's on the front end. I left a lot of the CSS and a lot of the JavaScript on the front end for some items. I don't know if they'll complain about that. And I don't know why I left it on the front end. I mean, I guess I'm just viscerally thinking that it belongs there for some reason, like the modal form, etc. But it doesn't really matter. So that's my CSS. Again, one for each form. JS, again, similar stuff. All the logic, the front end logic, and so forth is being. I got some jQuery API calls, Ajax calls to the back end, and I left those in the front end, I think, too. So, um, but this I like here in my templates because again, this isn't a tutorial on how to make a plugin because I'm still kind of learning, but I like this way of writing the front end. Is you're actually writing it like a actual web page, and including your PHP logic, whatnot. Again, I left a lot of my CSS in here, spacing here, but it's basically just like a regular HTML. Um, I left some stuff in here that needs to be removed, and I wonder if they'll complain about that because I'm going to try to submit it. That's the entries, the admin, PHP logic, or I'm sorry, logic and the HTML. So let's just think of this as an HTML page. So I like the way that's being used. The index is your standard. Um, Nothing to see here. The README, I've really kind of copied from what is presented as the guidelines in the WordPress.com. So um, we can go through that when we look at the guidelines before I submit it. I want to make sure that I know that this is being used correctly. I'll go to the uninstall, and so I'm removing everything. If they uninstall my plugin, I'm removing everything and not leaving anything residually. So I'm removing the data. I'm actually creating a table as I mentioned. I'm removing the table, Siwa contacts. I'm what am I doing here? I'm actually removing the images that have been uploaded. So I figured, might as well give them that, cleaning them up really good, and then deleting the table. I'm also deleting the options that are created, in the options table. It's kind of like the logic for that's on the back end. WordPress handles the creation of that, but you can call your options group and cycle through that and delete your options that you have created in the actual WP options table. So you can clean that out and not leave any residual garbage. That's your whitelist options, and that's all. So I really kind of clean everything up once I uninstall it, and I love the way this works. All you basically got to do in this framework is just create this uninstall.php, and it'll pick it up. So again, you come in with as a plugin, creating a plugin goes, it's very basic. Once you create like you come in here into the plugins directory of your WordPress, and whatever your folder's name is, should be the name of the entry point. So my folder's name is Siwa Contact Form and Siwa Contact Form PHP. That's what's going to be called first. So if I go to Siwa Contact Form, and that's just your boilerplate entry point. I'm going to say it's got, I and requiring a class file to do all, or module to do all of the logic. And it's going to be doing it under the Siwa namespace um, to make sure that we stay away from that we don't step on anybody else's variables that are global variables or whatnot. This is necessary, right? Um, this really defines your plugin. Again, it's not a tutorial on how to do this, but just while I'm here, this is what shows up on your plugin presentation or your listing where you're listed, your plugin is listed. So all this information comes from this commented section. Okay, and the GNU, I just copied it. Of course, I don't know, it's free, whatnot. And so basically, it's just a few lines of code that define the absolute path rather, and then calls the class, and then registers the activation and deactivation hooks that looks like it's registering the class to do all the work. Okay, so I have to look that up again. So then all the work is done right here. Everything is called and presented to from right here. Really quickly, and I really love because plugins can be built in a variety of different approaches. I like this approach because one, I'm using object-oriented programming, which you should, and I'm using this namespace. So I'm capitalizing. I always do lowercase on everything that I write, but I think it's supposed to be uh, mixed case or first case capital, first letter capital. So Siwa, as I mentioned before, there's my class. I've wrote some interesting self-paginating logic that I came up with. Um, so basically, I'm adding the actions. I'm providing the hooks or the functions to the hooks. I'm hooking into the enqueue scripts, the admin enqueue scripts. So for the admin side, the actual form. I'm loading a short code, which I wish I would have called a template, but I got it all in there coded. Um, so for the short code, add short code, search code. So yeah, I'm trying to make sense of this. So my short code for the pages that are going to go. These are the short code. I don't know if they're in here, but yeah, they're the kind that you see all the short codes. Short codes, added line modal. I was going to use a modal that I kind of got from where I got it from, but I somehow hijacked that, or to the point where I wasn't even using it anymore. So I'm using my own modal. I kept this in here because I like the logic and I want to go back to it at some time. I wonder if they'll gripe about that. And if they like, for example, they don't like having unused code in your modules. Um, this hook, what is it? Where is it? I'll show you later. So then the rest of it, you register the API, paths because I'm doing a lot of, or all my data not gripping, but getting is done via Ajax or asynchronous process. Um, I add my admin pages, and then what did I have that next to? And then my my settings, my options. Really quickly, activate doesn't really do much. Oh, this is important to flush these guys. I have to learn more about that, but it's important. The uninstall is I don't know if that's even going to be ever called. Um, Create database objects is very important. That's where I create the database. I'm sorry, the table. And that's basically all I do here. Short code. Um, a lot of logic in this, and I almost wish I'd have done it as a template, but we'll leave it like this because there's a space. It's taking a lot of space in this module. Um, this is the contact form, so not a lot going on here. There's more actually going on in the admin page. Um, don't have to really go through this logic, but this is where I break down all the choices of what people choose to search by. No big deal. Load my assets, which are my JavaScript and forms. Yes, I wanted to show you this because I may do this here where I only allow this to load if I'm doing my own pages and not somebody else's. So I don't, to avoid any further stepping on anybody else's toes, um, like I do here for the admin. So in the admin, I actually look for a hook, and if the hook is named of that page, or if the hook is the name of the page, then I will load or enqueue that asset, um, whether it's JavaScript or CSS. And I may have to look at this more. And as I mentioned, I may want to. I guess I didn't do it here that much because it's on the front end, but I should probably do it anyway. Or actually, I probably can't do it because this may rely on whatever the name of the page is, and I'm not going to ever know that, what somebody's going to name their page and drop that shortcode into. So it's probably good like this. Hook modal is something that I am not using. Again, I'm not even using this modal. And I left it here because I like the way they're doing this. They're basically just, what's it called? Where you just write regular HTML, and you can do that in PHP, like do the inline PHP style. But here, this calls a pretty nice looking modal that you can work with that I'm not even using. But I left it in here. I'll remove it if they make me do that. Here's where I load my inline scripts, my JavaScripts, or actually, I guess, yeah, the scripts that are going to show up on the page itself. And I probably should move these to the enqueued JavaScripts, but leaving them here for now. Everything is done, like I said, with Ajax. So Ajax here to, what am I doing here? To actually put the context. So once somebody's submitted their form to the back, I'll run this code. And then I've also got an image uploader, so you got to do that. And then where's my get? Somewhere around here. I think I removed the get to the back. So anyway, so maybe I'm slowly moving it all. Register REST API. Register, you got to do this when you call your backend, like you did in my last function here. When you call the URL that you use is this is submit contact. This is what's being defined here. And submit contact runs handle contact form, which is the function that yeah, handle the contact form. Whether it looks to see if it already exists before it puts it in there. We can look at the logic if you want. Let's look at it. Handle contact form. So once somebody hits the submit button comes here through Ajax. It's a parameter. Checks to see if the email exists because, well, we already have that email. I don't think it should even matter. Here I'm saying, hey, you already got an email, but what does that even matter for? So I may remove that. That's done when you're trying to sign in or register to a site. That logic came from my other site. So it doesn't matter if they use the same email in this thing. So let me remove that too. Okay, so I sanitize my stuff and then just drop it into, what is this? Oh, I have a nonce. Always good to have a nonce. So I check my nonce and everything's okay. Then I drop it into my table, get my result. I got my ID for the row that I inserted. But yeah, I'm glad I looked at this with you guys because why would I reject their next message if just because they've already submitted a previous message? So this needs to be gone. That's it basically. README, I guess, kind of we'll go over that when we submit this, but I got all this from the submission site. Basically that's it for watching.